Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we turn to talking about the ongoing controversy surrounding a certain fast food fried chicken restaurant and their new items which are causing many to lose their minds. I'm of course talking about Popeyes. This Louisiana-style chicken store has recently become notorious for its new chicken sandwich too, as it's been causing long lines, shortages, fights, and riots and more. And at first glance this all seems pretty ridiculous certainly. Why would a chicken sandwich cause so much controversy and social unrest in the first place? Well, there's a few factors to go over to summarize that, some of which involves a little critical thinking and reading in between the lines as well. And after we get through this explanation and recap, I'm also going to eventually get to covering some more of the new controversies that have been happening in the past week. And even I've got a final pro SJW story that says this could be happening because Popeyes is bigoted and offensive. That's right. But first things first, let's quickly go over the 4 reasons why I think this drama has been happening at Popeyes initially. First, you've got good food there, and second, they have pretty low prices too. This goes for most of the Popeyes menu, and the special new chicken sandwich is included in that, and we'll get more into that sandwich soon in a moment, but overall, Popeyes is really good, especially if you like fried chicken. But also, they have a good selection of seafood like shrimp as well, and in addition, they have great sides to go along with that, which isn't just limited to French fries like most fast food places. They also have other great southern style sides like mashed potatoes and gravy, coleslaw, biscuits, and even more. Not to get too into this and sound like a fanboy for this menu or anything, maybe it is my inner fatty and current hunger that's taking over a bit here, but I do need to explain this to make these first 2 points clear as crystal. Popeyes has a good base of delicious food and fair prices, and that's where all this recent controversy jumps off from. Combine these reasons with the next 2 factors and you can quickly see why this all went to shit really fast. Next, let's talk about the locations. I'm weary to get too far into this topic and trigger somebody and possibly even get my video flagged or something, but regardless, this has to be said. Popeyes tend to be built in low-income neighborhoods. Many fried chicken places in America are like this too. It's really not a secret or anything, but it's also not something you're really supposed to say. But like it or not, Popeyes does this, and while it puts their stores in better locations to profit off of the poorer and more working class people, which is their target demographic, but at the same time, as we've recently all seen, this has also put them in a more precarious place as well. These locations are more likely to draw in more crazy people, or at the very least, ill-tempered ones and people who are likely to get angry over a $5 or $10 food purchase. Let me just put it this way, there's no Popeyes in Bel Air, and you're not going to find one on Martha's Vineyard either. And if there were Popeyes or other fried chicken stores at those locations, they certainly wouldn't be having riots and fistfights and shutdowns right now because of some new chicken sandwich. Moving forward, let's talk about the 4th and final factor that really was the instigator of all these things too. The good food, low prices, and problematic locations formed together to just make this sort of powder keg that was bound to explode at some point. And with the release of the new chicken sandwich, that was all it took to spark this situation and make it completely explode at mini Popeyes. You see, previously Popeyes wasn't really known for making mini sandwiches. They are known for their fried chicken, sure, but it usually comes in the form of chicken legs, breasts, thighs, nuggets, and a few other things too. So this chicken sandwich was not only a new item for them and a way for them to compete with other growing chicken sandwich places like Chick-fil-A, but also Popeye's chicken sandwich became a big hit too, going viral everywhere online and becoming a bit of a sensation when it was first released earlier this year around August. But this goodwill with the people quickly turned south when, first, the store started to become crowded and many long lines started to form, and then things really went to hell when all the Popeye stores started running out of the chicken sandwiches to boot. Not a good look. And that about wraps things up on this recap and explanation there. What happened next was the chicken sandwich was pulled from the menu completely at the end of the summer after they all ran out. And then now, after a few months waiting, Popeyes apparently regrouped and resupplied, and the sandwich is back for November. And although the lines at the stores appear to be not as bad and the supplies of sandwiches are certainly lasting far longer and better, but as you've probably seen in the news lately, this hasn't stopped the drama, the fights, and all-around chaos from breaking out at these stores once again too. So let's go over a few recent stories involving incidents at Popeyes this week and see how bad things are getting at our favorite chicken store. First, we got a story from Fox called Popeye's Chicken Sandwich Craze Continues with Woman Scraping Car to Get into the Drive-Thru Line. This should be good. Let's go ahead and take a look. And so the Popeye's Chicken Sandwich Craze continues. A woman tried to get into a drive-thru line at a Popeyes in Los Angeles, sideswiping her own car in the process. In a video shared to Instagram, a woman in a gray Mercedes is seen seen trying to merge into the drive-through lane by jamming her car in front of a dark gray Toyota that is at the order window. According to the person who filmed the incident, the woman in the Mercedes was not cutting in line, but merging from one of two drive-through lanes, Eater reports. And here's the video that's in question. Can't listen to the sound here because it gets pretty vulgar with people yelling and screaming and cursing. And the filming party here appears to be trying to get clicks on World Star Hip Hop or something. You know, that website that always films crazy fights and stuff. But just looking at this video without sound and using some stills, and I think we can all still see how heated it got there. The woman driving the gray car seems to be trying to pull in front of the other car and cut in front of them in line. Even though the report says there were two lines merging, sometimes that doesn't work out. But unfortunately, the gray car is also rubbing up against those concrete pillars on the side while she's trying to get in line, and this totally ruins the side of her car. Then to make things even more crazy there, we can see two other potential chicken sandwich customers, and they're apparently trying to direct traffic or start a fight or something. Doesn't appear to be helping though. All it is doing is showing how out of control these Popeye scenes can really get. That story was in Los Angeles, by the way, and this next one is in San Antonio, both liberal-run cities that are also heavily Hispanically influenced throughout their history and even in the town's names. Perhaps these locations going downhill under Democrats for decades has something to do with this, but for now, let's just get to this next story, which is called Popeye's Employee Customer Throw Trays at Each Other in Fight Caught on Video. Check this one out. Trays were sent flying at a Popeye's restaurant in San Antonio on Tuesday during a fight between a customer and an employee. The two unidentified women are seen throwing food trays at each other in a dispute caught on video and posted on Twitter. The woman who filmed the altercation said she was in line to pick up some of Popeye's popular chicken sandwiches when a woman who she believes was initially in the drive-through line came in through a side door. And then here's the video where you can see this smaller girl here who appears to be yelling at the employees at Popeye's. This prompts the employee to throw a tray at this person, to which the yeller promptly responds and throws the tray back at them. And then this large tall man in a veteran's cap decides to try and help if he can, even pulling the angered customer back away from the counter and register. Mad props to that American hero who still appears to be taking the defense of this country and modern society and rule of law seriously. This is also a good time to note that it's not always just the customers who are freaking out in these situations. The Popeyes employees are also under a lot of pressure these days too, and they constantly have to deal with crazies like this lady as well, so it's no wonder they're starting to lose it again. Also keep in mind the low-income neighborhood factor, which also plays a role in the demographics of the employees, just like how it does with the customers here. Finally, we have one more incident to talk about, and this one gets far more tragic and serious, unfortunately. Here, CNBC reports that last Tuesday, a man was killed at a Maryland Popeyes in a fight linked to the popular chicken sandwich. Let's take a look then. A man was stabbed to death outside a Maryland Popeyes in a fight over the chain's popular fried chicken sandwich, police said. A spokeswoman for the Prince George's Police Department said the 28-year-old, who has not been identified, was killed at a restaurant in Oxon Hill outside Washington, D.C. The fight began after someone cut in line, spokeswoman Jennifer Donnellan said. For you to get that angered over anything, for that type of anger to develop into this type of violence, again, is a very sad and tragic day, Donnellan said. The fight began inside the restaurant and later moved outside. Donnellan said the man was rushed to a hospital where he later died. Wow. Stabbed to death over a chicken sandwich at Popeyes because someone cut you in line? Doesn't get much more bleak and sad than that, really. I truly feel sorry for these people and their families. And also, remember this story the next time you try and cut someone in line, folks. It's not a good idea. And it's also worth noting this happened near Washington, D.C., another liberal-run shithole in this country that has had Democratic leadership since the 1960s. Just saying. Liberal-run, metropolitan-heavy cities and their areas with large ghettos like this, that's what attracts this kind of shady behavior, clearly. And one could hardly blame Popeyes themselves for this, except maybe they should have stocked more of those viral sandwiches. And perhaps their stores need to start having more security now too, but really, these are all adults most of the time, and they're losing their shit over fried chicken on their own accord. With that said, it's their own fault and responsibility, and they've been acting reprehensible as we have seen, clearly, day after day. But there are some people out there who would like to blame others for this. We all know liberals and social justice warriors will go to any length to defend low-income minorities like these, so it shouldn't be too surprising that we are now seeing people try and blame Popeyes and even call them bigots for this happening at their stores. That brings us to the last article for today. We're going to end things with a Washington Post piece that does just what we're talking about. The premise in the title asks, why does Popeyes market its chicken sandwiches to African Americans? And it almost sounds like the writer is already scolding them. Really though, marketing to certain demographics isn't racist at all, and usually it's done because because places like Popeyes know that black people like their food and want to buy it more. So the company was just being smart and decided to cater to their strength and also build restaurants closer to their customer base. This is another reason Popeyes tends to be in low-income areas because, like it or not, black people tend to live there more as well. But these practices aren't really racist, clearly. At least it's clear to rational, non-SJW people like you and me. As I said before, and time again, this is just a company giving its customers what they want. No one is being forced into anything here. It's just capitalism and free enterprise at work. And everyone is usually happy in these situations too. Popeyes makes money while the people get good, cheap food that they like. But when things do start to go wrong, and people in areas get bad attention because of these recent chicken crazes, well, that's when the liberal writers like this one at Washington Post, that's when they go and blame the store and racism, and even they reference ancient unrelated history like slavery and also a certain white hooded group of Southern Democrats who used to terrorize African Americans 100 years ago. I'm not kidding. This all comes up in this article, which is obviously trying to blame Popeyes and its chicken sandwich going viral and the chaos surrounding this story. Well, they of course think this is happening all because of racism and the people who are committing the crimes, which is done with their own free will. Well, somehow, according to the Washington Post, they did nothing wrong. Kind of a racist assertion though, if you think about it more. The writer here is implying that these customers have no free will and they can't think or act for themselves. Why else would they blindly follow Popeyes and its advertising and give their hard-earned money to a store who hates them and is using them and is bigoted? This almost implies these minorities in these areas. Well, the writer is also basically saying they're like children who not only can't control what they do or how or where they spend their money, but also they can't control their own actions. And that means when they fight and riot and throw trays and crash their cars and stuff, it's not their fault. It's the evil racist white man's fault for some convoluted reason, according to them. In the end, really, this final attack from the pro-SJW leftists at the Washington Post, it's only coming out now because of pretty obvious reasons. Not only are we all too familiar with how SJWs love to chime in and cast judgment on everything popular, like this chicken craze, but also they can't help but defend minorities too, who are clearly starting to look a bit bad here with their reactions and crimes and riots surrounding this new chicken sandwich. But instead of coming off as concerned and helpful and some sort of noble protector, instead the left-wingers just look like they're being very patronizing and treating these people like they're children, which is pretty disrespectful and also very bigoted in itself. What do you guys think? Have you tried Popeye's new chicken sandwich? Do you think it's worth all this hype? And why do you think all of these incidents are happening? Is it because of the factors and background that I went over, or is it because Popeyes is secretly racist? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time.